Now, in his latest effort to fight the impeachment inquiry in regards to the call to the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, President Trump called an investigation into his personal corruption a literal coup. That has some people worried, including anybody who actually thinks about things. So now, let me give you the tweets here from President Trump. He said this: "As I learn more and more each day, I'm coming to the conclusion that what is taking place is not an impeachment. It is a coup intended to take away the power of the people, their vote, their freedoms, their Second Amendment, religion, military, border wall, and their God given rights as a citizen of the United States of America." That is a pretty exhaustive list. Now, of course, anybody who lives in reality knows that impeachment doesn't take away any of those things. The statement makes no sense, but what it does is that there are people that, people who are virulently pro-Trump, that hits every single right note. Takes away their freedoms, their Second Amendment, the religion, the military. It takes away the wall, which, by the way, doesn't exist. And all that stuff. And the Second Amendment especially. Oh, my God. They're going to take away the Second Amendment. Really? No. But yikes, right? And look, it's no surprise that Trump's out there saying this stuff because it's exactly what his aides are saying as well and advisors. In fact, you've got White House trade advisor Peter Navarro, who likened the effort to impeach the president. Again, we're doing an impeachment inquiry, so it's not even articles of impeachment at this point over the Ukrainian call. He says this is, quote, an attempted coup d'etat. Nope, not really. But more, Newt Gingrich. He goes and does an interview with Fox News, and he basically used that same phrase again to explain the impeachment proceedings, which is hilarious because Newt Gingrich led an impeachment proceeding. But anyway, so, okay, is it a coup d'etat? Well, let's examine. Coup is defined as a sudden, violent, and illegal seizure of power from a government. Again, sudden, violent, illegal, right? So now, wait a minute. What Trump did with Ukraine is illegal. It's a campaign finance violation. Maybe not high up on the list of high crimes and misdemeanors, but it certainly is a crime. You can't ask a foreign government to do an investigation on your political opponent to help you politically, because an investigation, of course, you can quantify into a dollar figure, right? It takes time, effort, resources to do an investigation. That's why it's considered a campaign contribution. And you cannot take campaign contributions, it's spelled out in the Constitution, from foreign governments. You just simply can't. And so, look, and here's the thing. Again, Donald Trump broke the law, but you don't even have to break the law to be impeached. In fact, impeachment is a political solution, right? And so any impeachment trial would not be a literal trial for crimes. It would be a trial for on a political basis, where the worst that can happen to you is you get removed from your job. You don't go to jail if you get successfully impeached. No, you get removed from your job. Impeachment, 100% legal. It's literally in the Constitution. Peter Navarro knows this. Newt Gingrich knows this. Again, Newt Gingrich literally led an impeachment of Bill Clinton for the high crime and misdemeanor of having a consensual affair with an intern while in office. So, ironically, while Newt Gingrich was also having his own affair while he was in office. Hypocrisy, right? They know it knows no bounds with Republicans. But again, Donald Trump facing impeachment, the inquiry, because he literally asked a foreign leader to conduct an investigation into Joe Biden. That is, again, campaign violation, clearly illegal. And again, as you don't have to, as I explained, commit a crime to be impeached. Republicans even tell us that. In fact, his recent Civil War tweet, a lot of people are saying, and I just pulled a Trump there, a lot of people are saying, that it could be grounds enough for impeachment. Don't believe me? Let's go to our old friend Lindsey Graham. He said this back in 1999, quote, "You don't even have to be convicted of a crime to lose your job in this constitutional republic. If this body determines that your conduct as a public official is clearly out of bounds in your role. Impeachment is not about punishment. Impeachment is about cleansing the office. Impeachment is about restoring honor and integrity to the office." So let me ask you, you think Donald Trump's conduct was out of bounds when he called for the people who gave information to the whistleblower to be executed as spies? I'll let you figure that one out. Now, a lot of people, like I said, are really concerned about some of these recent tweets because it suggests that Trump, if he's successfully removed from office, and that's a big if, by the way, if he's removed, he might refuse to leave, which would set off a major constitutional crisis. Now, Matthew Gertz, he's the senior fellow at Media Matters. He said this, quote, "This is extremely dangerous. Trump's coup language isn't an errant presidential tweet. It's an official Trump administration talking point that multiple top aides have rolled out on state TV today," which would be, of course, Fox News at this point. Yeah, super dangerous. Historian Angus Johnson asked in response to Trump's tweet, quote, "What happens when he tweets something like this the day after he loses re-election?" And he's talked like this for a long time. So, in fact, oh man, I lost 2 years to do the Mueller report. Maybe I should stay 2 years longer. Maybe I should just have another term. You're not supposed to have a third term. But, I mean, we have something called term limits, but those don't seem to matter to Donald Trump at all. So, look, if he loses re-election, and that's, I think, far more likely to happen than an impeachment, than a successful impeachment and removal. That's just my 2 cents on that. Look, if he decides he wants to stay, that would be disastrous. Again, Johnson said this, "The orderly transfer of power in the United States is always dependent on the active cooperation of the outgoing president. What happens if that cooperation is not forthcoming? The answer, the day-to-day answer for November and December 2020 and January 2021 isn't obvious. It's not. We're not even sure that if he is legitimately beaten by a Democratic candidate, whether it be Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, or Bernie Sanders, or anyone else. The thought process here is, we're not sure this guy's going to leave. And that's based on what he's been talking about. Now, again, I've talked about Republicans that said the same things about Barack Obama, when there's absolutely no basis for that kind of paranoia. In this case, it sounds crazy, but when you look at what he said, what you look at what he's talked about, and what he says he's joked about, right? And his actions and his instabilities, it's a remote possibility. And that's disastrous. Now, Johnson says one more thing here. Tweets like tonight crank up the cost of breaking up with Trump, but they also underscore the fact that there's no guarantee that waiting him out will be an effective alternate strategy. Again, yikes. Mehdi Hassan, who writes for The Intercept, wrote this back in March. "This is not a drill, and there's no reason to believe Trump will go quietly if he's defeated. There is every reason, however, to believe that he and his allies will incite hysteria and even violence. Those who assume otherwise haven't been paying attention." Again, super scary. And Shrita Parsi, executive vice president of the Quincy Institute, said this, quote, following the president's coup tweet, "The logical conclusion of this nonsensical statement is that the military should step in, save Trump, and arrest Trump's political opponents. Let that sink in." Or basically, pull a Russia, say, or even a Brazil. Again, Lula da Silva, uh, he was going to win against Jair Bolsonaro down in Brazil. So what did Bolsonaro do? He got him arrested on phony corruption charges and threw him in prison and ended up winning the election. You don't think it can happen here in America? Donald Trump is literally setting the stage for it right now. And of course, you know what that would be. It'd be literal fascism. Again, President Trump doesn't seem to believe in American institutions. He attacks his own government for disagreeing with him. He's attacked the Weather Service for saying, oh, there's a hurricane, but don't worry, it won't hit Alabama. No, he altered with a Sharpie weather maps saying, no, I was right. It's going to hit Alabama. Did it hit Alabama? No, it did not. I mean, Jesus, man. He, again, goes after his own government. How many times did he attack Jeff Sessions in the Department of Justice before putting in Bill Barr after firing Sessions? How many times has he attacked our intelligence agencies? The FBI, NSA, CIA. I mean, come on, man. Not only that, but he also cuts oversight of government and installs his own people, loyalists, in every conceivable area, like William Barr, who will cover for him and defend him. That's what strongmen do. So now I'll leave you one thing here, one last thought, and that's the difference between a proto-fascist and a fascist. And look, you've heard us talk about, and other outlets say that he is the proto-fascist, right? Well, the only difference between those two is the first one hasn't succeeded yet. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm gonna have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a patreon.com/TYTNation set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.